Hey folks, Leo here once again. Sorry. Welcome back to another Batman review. I hope you enjoyed my review of Batman and Robin. A film I don't hate, but for me, it was so bad it's good and entertaining. But now, for the next set of Batman reviews, we are now on the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight Trilogy. So, yeah, which I own here, the Dark Knight Trilogy. And I'm starting today with reviewing the first film of the Christopher Nolan Trilogy that came out in 2005. That was the reboot, 8 years after Batman and Robin. And that is Batman Begins. Yeah. Yeah, and I have like a little booklet too of the movie. Some pictures of the like Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow, who are the villains of this film. To be honest, I'm going to be completely 100% here on the show. I know these films' reputation. I know people get death threats, you know, for not liking these movies, which I think is ridiculous because all film is subjective. All film, everybody has a different opinion on. And for me, I've always felt like the Dark Knight Trilogy is overrated, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think they're the most overrated comic book films of all time. Not the only ones, but there's some other ones that are overrated as well. But for me, these films are just overrated. And I'll get into why. But, like I told you, my history of Batman, everything I said in my reviews is my opinion. You know, when I started this superhero marathon, I gave you a warning ahead of time. So, if you don't like what you're going to hear, you might as well watch these reviews if you're not going to like what I have to say. So, but I will delete and block people who are going to be trolls and be rude. So, any rude comments, you're out, you're gone. Bye-bye. I'm not putting up with it. But for me, Batman Begins, it's an okay film. I think it's decent, but I do think it's very highly overrated in my opinion. The film has tons of issues. I don't think it's perfect. You know, I think the Batman, I'll honestly say that right now, I think that's definitely the Batman, you know, that we needed, that I needed. That was the Batman film I was waiting for, because Roger Ebert said in his review, this was the Batman film he was like, well, I don't understand why, but that's just me. To each his own. But let's get into the production of the movie. In January 2003, Warner Brothers hired Memento, because Christopher Nolan at the time, he did films like, because after Batman and Robin was a financial failure, even though the film did well, people always a bad taste in their mouths, and people say it killed the franchise. Well, for me, it was Warner Brothers that killed the franchise. But anyway, you know, after they killed the franchise, they wanted to reboot it again, you know, started to reboot it. That Batman needed a reboot, so they got Christopher Nolan, who, I know there were some other directors as well. I watched a comedic arts prepare for this review. I forgot some of it said, but there were some other directors involved. But Christopher Nolan got the job thanks to directing films like Memento and Insomnia. You know, never seen Memento, but Insomnia is really good, very underrated. And I love Inception. Really good movie. And David S. Goyer signed on to write the script in 2 months later. David S. Goyer, now he wrote like other superhero movies like worked on other superhero films like Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess it's a TV movie. He did the script for that, starring David Hasselhoff, which is a television superhero film, which I've never seen. But he also wrote the script for Blade Trilogy, and he also directed Blade Trinity, which I'm sorry, Blade Trinity sucks. You know, he cannot direct a superhero movie, I'm sorry. But then he also wrote the script of Man of Steel, which I like. I enjoy Man of Steel. Yes, I will say that. And that was Dawn of Justice, you know, and some other movies, but he wrote some other superhero films before. Nolan stated that his intention to reinvent the film franchise of Batman was doing the origin stories of the character, which is a story that's never been told before, which what he wanted to do. He basically, Nolan, in his own words, I did watch an interview with him saying he wanted to make it realistic. But here's my problem. Realistic version of Batman just does not work, in my opinion. Nolan said that humanity realism will be the basis of the origin film, and that the world of Batman is out of ground reality. I'm like, no, it's fantasy. It's comic book. Because Batman is a comic book character. Now, I don't know realism in a movie, or realistic in a movie, but when it comes to a comic book character like Batman, no. That's another world. That's fantasy, you know. Goyer said that the goal of the film was to keep the audience to care for both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Nolan felt the previous films were exercise in style rather than drama. I don't want to get into no debate, but at least Tim Burton films, Batman was dark and mysterious. He was an interesting character. So, yeah. They didn't need drama in them. You know, they were dark, and yeah, the two Tim Burton, even Batman Forever has dark moments in it. So, you know. And he described his inspiration as being for Richard Donner's 1978 Superman film, which he was inspired by because he was a big fan of Richard Donner, you know, who directed the late Richard Donner, who directed Superman the movie starring Christopher Reeve. And he's one of those filmmakers that took inspiration from him. You know. Also similar to Superman, Nolan wanted to all-star supporting cast for Batman Begins to lend a more epic feel and credibility to the story. Credibility to the story. Goyer wanted to reboot the franchise. He and Nolan saw Batman as a romantic character, and Nolan advised a large sweeping film like Lawrence of Arabia. Nolan did not have a problem with the studio's requirement that the film not be rated R, because he wanted to make the film that he wanted to see when 11 years old. This personal jumping off point of inspiration is where The Man Who Falls, a short story by Dennis O'Neil about Bruce's travel throughout the world. He does go by a little bit of the comics, you know. The early scene in Batman Begins, a young Bruce Wayne falling to adapted from The Man Who Falls. That was from that story, yes, you know, it was. But I've never read that Batman comic, so I've never read a Batman comic. I will sit here right now. So, Batman One Halloween, written by Jim Loeb and drawn by Tim Sale, influenced Goyer in writing the screenplay. The villain, Grandma Falcone, is one of the many elements which were drawn from the Halloween Silver series approach. The writers considered having Harvey Dent in the film, but he was replaced with the new character Richard Dawes. But Harvey Dent will be in the sequel, The Dark Knight, played by Aaron Eckhart. The sequel to Halloween, Batman Dark Victory, also serves as a minor influence. Goyer used the fantasy of Bruce Wayne's multi-year absence upon named Batman Year One to help set up some of the film's events in the transpiring years. In addition, the film Sergeant James Gordon was based on the comic adaptation of Year One. The Rise of Batman Begins also used Frank Miller's Year One plot device, which was about a corrupt police force that elected Gordon in Gotham City needed for Batman. Due to Batman's ascent of Rose Gallery over 70 years, Story and Nolan decided to use the Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's, Ra's al Ghul, as the film villains. Both characters had not been featured in previous Batman films, nor the Adam West 60s television series. But they were in Batman the Animated Series, you know, which is not live action. A common idea in the comics that Bruce saw a solo film with his parents before they were murdered. Nolan explained that knowing the idea, which he stated is not found in Batman's first appearances. It films the importance of bats to Bruce, that becoming superheroes are wholly original idea on the part. It is for the reason Nolan believes other DC characters do not exist in the universe of his films. Otherwise, Wayne's reasons for taking up costume vigilante would have been very different. Filming, as with all films, Nolan refused a second unit. He did not in order to keep his vision contest. Film began March 2004 in Iceland. The crew built a village in the front doors to Rash's temple, as well as a road to access the remote area. The weather was problematic, with 35 miles per hour, raining the like of snow. A shot that Cinematography Wally Pistner had planned to use a crane to be complete with a handheld camera. Unlike Burton and Schumacher's Gotham City, that did not exist in the world, Nolan shot exteriors in London, New York, and Chicago, as he wanted the city to seem recognizable. And he's seeking inspiration from Superman and the blockbuster films of the late 1970s and early 1980s. Nolan based most of the production in England. A Batcave was built there and measured. Production designer Nathan Crowley installed 4 pumps to create a waterfall with 12,000. I do like the waterfall though in the Batcave. That was nice. Miniature towers were chosen from 20 different locations for the Wayne Tower, as Nolan and Crowley liked it with wet floors. Despite the film's genre, Nolan wanted to make the film appeal to a wide age range, not the youngest kids of Oxley. The music score was done by Hans Zimmer and some by James Newton Howard. Special effects and design. Nolan used inspiration from Blade Runner, which I'm sorry, but Blade Runner does it better than this movie. Anyway, then you have the Batmobile, which is the tumbler, which, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that, but they used the nose of a P3 lightning bolt to serve as the chassis for the tumbler's turbine engine. 6 models of the tumbler were built to 1/12 scale in the course of 4 months. Following the scale model creation, a crew of over 30 people, including fellow engineers, built a full-size replica of the tumbler out of a large block over 2 months. While the design process was complete, 4 race cars were constructed. The interior of that and the bat suit, which is in here, I think it's a decent bat suit in my opinion. It's probably one of my least favorite ones, but I do like the cowl. But other than that, the suit itself, now the Dark Knight I think had, in the Dark Knight, just a picture here. I think this suit is definitely the better one that he wore in The Dark Knight Rises, in my opinion. The filmmakers intended to create a very mobile batsuit that would allow the wearer to move easily to fight and crouch. Film incarnations of batsuit have been stiff, especially restrictions of full head movement. Costume designer Linda Heming and her crew worked on the batsuit at an effects workshop codenamed Cape Town. A secure combat located studios along the batsuit's basic design was Christian Bale was modeled and sculptured by Bale got the part. I think Christopher Nolan wanted to hire him because he had done films like American Psycho, The Machinist. So he was very skinny in that movie. So the funny thing is though that he had to do some exercising. He gained a bit weight, and on the set they joked with Christian Bale saying like, "Hey Christian, what are we doing, Batman or Fat Man?" Joking around by calling him Fat Man. So he had to lose some of that weight and get that strength. But there were screen tests done also with Val Kilmer's batsuit, which Christian Bale did screen test. Cillian Murphy, who would also go on to play the Scarecrow, Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, also tested to play Bruce Wayne. Batman was in the suit, even though the suit, it didn't really fit him, and it really, the suit was going to eat him or something. But he had another actor, but Bale was of course chosen because that light and the darkness, no one thought he could play that very well, so that's why he chose him. And I can kind of see why all meant, the voice was more subtle, not here it is in the movies, but Bale and him, wanted to, sorry, Batman to have that raspy voice, Christian Nolan wanted to have a flowing clothes that flows and flows as in many great graphic novels, which is real nice. Batsuit, fight choreography of Batman against Yusuf John and he trained actors, so Christian Bale, got to do some training on the ice a little bit, show some fight training, visual effects. Nolan preferred traditional stunt work over computer generated. So the one thing I was saying about this movie, they don't use CGI a lot. They use practical effects, which I do like. And when the film came out, it was a big hit. People loved it. And at the time, I guess people were not. Even I didn't know what to expect from this movie when it came out. I did love this movie. I used to love this movie. But when it came out, my dad told me, they're making another Batman movie about, how he became Batman. And I do remember seeing the poster. My brother, he took a picture, got a picture, of a poster of Christian Bale, standing as Batman. Walmart had this poster, of Christian Bale as Batman. And my brother took a picture of, got to be in that picture. So, and I didn't see this film in theaters, I forgot how I saw this movie. It might have been on TV, but it did have a bit of an impact. Some films like Casino Royale take inspiration from it. Filmmakers, screenwriters, and producers have also mentioned Batman Begins of the Dark Knight trilogy to describe their projects. Include Jon Favreau, Edward Norton, Alan Taylor, Gareth Edwards. With some of these films, they work and some of them don't, but they do take it dark and seriously as this film does. Some of these films work and some of these films do not. But I don't think you need to take inspiration. Some of the MC films did not take inspiration from it. Even though Jon Favreau says he did, he does not take Iron Man really seriously. Themes, comic book writer, the strong theme from Bruce's search for a father figure. So I wouldn't really say these movies are about Batman. They're more about Bruce Wayne, if you think about it. His journey. And what he's going through, his origin and stuff. Alright. For the movie's marketing, though, you did have toys. And like I said, the trailer and the poster. You also had a Batman Begins video game. I do remember playing the video game, though. You guys have the game PS2. It was on Game Boy Advance, and GameCube, which I've never played, and on Xbox, but I only played it on PS2. The gameplay is that It's a beat-em-up stealth elements. The player controls Batman for a third-person perspective who has access to several gadgets that can be put to use. These include batarangs, smoke grenades, flashbang grenades. Aside from the combat stealth segments, the game also incorporates several combat racing sessions. The player gets to drive the Tumbler. Gets to drive the Bat Tank, which I call it. The game closely follows the film's plot with, from what I remember playing the game on PS2, though, the graphics are nice, and, playing the game, you get to play as Batman, you get to, before you attack a criminal, or you have to do stealth, you have to put fear in them, and when they're scared, you can go ahead and get them. You have to build up the fear element in the game, and you do get to face Scarecrow. You do have a fight with them in the game. Like you're in the movie, you don't, but in the game you do, and you get to have a bit of a sword fight at the train, which was cool, with Ra's al Ghul. With Ra's al Ghul. And, you get to go after Flash, you get to go after, I remember going this, I used to have a hard time doing the crouching, when Batman has to crouch to do stealth. I had to have a hard time doing that. But I also remember, when you go after Flash, you have to go in this building that he's in. It's a secure building. You have to find a way to escape, and that was just so darn difficult for me. But going after Valkyrie was pretty easy. And they do show, oh my god! I'm sorry, folks. And you do get to play as Bruce Wayne a little bit too. When he's training in the League of Shadows, or, when Ra's al Ghul, decides to burn the mansion down, you get to fight some of the League of Assassins in the game. That's from what I remember. And you get some clips from the movie, so yeah. But Batman Begins was a pretty fun game. I will say the Batman Arkham Asylum games are a lot better, just in my opinion. But Batman Begins, it's a fun. I remember being a fun game, but a little difficult at times, a bit of a pain in the ass. But I could have fun with it. All right. Oh, and for the cast of the movie. You do have a great supporting cast in here as well. You do have Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne Batman. You have Michael Caine. Gus Lewis plays young Bruce Wayne. You have Michael Caine as Alfred Pennyworth. You have Liam Neeson as Henry Decor, a.k.a. Ra's al Ghul. Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes. Gary Oldman as Detective James Gordon. And this film he's a detective, not commissioner yet. So, Cillian Murphy plays as Dr. Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow. Tom Wilkinson as Carmine, the Roman Marconi, I'm Carmine Marconi, and Rutger Howard as William Early, the late Rutger Howard. Kim Wannabe as Decoy Ra's al Ghul. I might have seen him in some movies, I don't remember. Okay, Pokemon, Inception, I remember him in that. Of course, I think he would have been better Ra's al Ghul, but that's just my opinion. Because he looks more Egyptian-like. So, but anyway, and Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. Other cast members include Mark Bone Jr. as Arnold Flash. I do remember the actor in Too Fast, Too Furious when the main villain in that movie tortures him by putting a rat in his stomach. Well, putting a barrel or whatever over the rat and burning it. You just have to see if you've seen that movie. And then Loomis Roach plays Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father. Roy Holden as District Attorney Carl Flinch. Colin McCrilly as Gillian B. Wilk, Police Commissioner. Christine Adams as Jessica, Vincent Wong as old Asian prisoner, Sarah Stewart as Martha Wayne, Bruce's late mother, Richard Brake as Joe Chill, which Joe Chill in the comics did kill, I believe. From what I heard, that was Joe Chill who did murder Bruce Wayne's parents. Charles Edwards as Wayne the President's Executive, Tim Booth as Victor Zsasz as homeless man who's the last person to meet Bruce when he leaves Gotham, and the first thing to see him as Batman. Okay, and the film was directed by Christopher Nolan. Screenplay was by Christopher Nolan, David Esquire. It's stories by David Esquire. Produced by Charles Robin, Emma Thomas, and Larry Franco. Cinematography is by Wally Fascito. It's edited by Lee Smith. Music by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. It's distributed by Warner Brothers. It was released June 17th, 2005. June 15th, 2005 in the United States, May 31st, 2005 in Tokyo, and June 17th, 2005 in London, the UK. So it's 140 minutes long, about 2 hours and 20 minutes. The budget to make the movie was $150 million, and at the box office it made $373.7 million worldwide. So it was a box office hit. And of course, the film did get 2 sequels. Got a trilogy, which was The Dark Knight 2008 and Dark Knight Rises 2012, consisting of the Dark Knight trilogy, starting with this film. Okay. Now, the plot synopsis of Batman Begins, what the film is about. As again, the film is the origins of Bruce Wayne, an origin story. So, pretty much as young Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale travels to the Far East, where he's trained in the martial arts by Henry Deckard, a member of the mysterious League of Shadows. When Deckard reveals the League's true purpose, the complete destruction of Gotham City, Wayne Bruce returns to Gotham intent on cleaning up the city without restoring the murder. With the help of Alfred and his little brother and Lucius Fox, a tech expert at Wayne Enterprises, Batman is born. But along the way, of course, with his childhood friend Rachel Dawes, played by Katie Holmes, who he talks about the movie a little bit, and of course having to face another villain, Scarecrow, and Batman doing a little detective work here. Pretty much you find some spoilers of the race, and the League of Assassins are planning on destroying Gotham City, so when Bruce becoming Batman, but as Batman he also must, of course, stop Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow from destroying Gotham City. So that's the plot for you. Alright, go ahead and talk about the movie itself, and I'll give my final opinion and stuff on it, okay? Like I always do. Give my thoughts and opinions toward the end of the video. Alright. 20 minutes in? Okay. Alright, Batman Begins starts off. I do like the way it starts off with, flying bats, cool shot, kind of looks like this a little bit. Sorry. Kind of looks like the shot here a little bit, but really good opening. And then you get to young Bruce Wayne and his friend Rich Dawes when they're kids, and Bruce, they're like playing finders keepers, like with the rock. And he's like, "Come on, Rachel, give me the rock." And she's like, "Well, it's my finders keepers. It's my garden." She shows him it, and he takes it. And she's like, "Bruce," and he's hiding. And Bruce falls down a well. He gets a little injured. He's just hurt a little bit, and then he just looks, and bats start flying out. He starts getting scared. And after that, you see Bruce in prison. This film kind of goes back and forth on his origin story, but you see Bruce in prison, and he's like, "Nightmare?" He's like, "Nightmare." He's like, and he's been in prison for quite some time. And one guy comes up, is like, "Can't they kill me before breakfast?" like Bruce says, and he's like, and he hits Bruce. He's like, "And I am the devil," and Bruce is like, "You're not the devil. You practice." And Bruce fight. And the editing, I'm sorry, the editing in this film is horrible. The fight scenes, they suck in this movie. The shaky cam is terrible. You see legs up. I mean, the camera's just moving everywhere. And then, the guard comes like, "You need protection." He's like, "I don't need protection." Bruce is like, "No, protection from them. From your shitty shaky cam." But no, I'm just kidding. And then they put Bruce in the prison. And then he meets Henry Deckard. He says, "Are you desperate to fight criminals? Are you going to take on all of them?" When his son shows up, and like there were 7 of them. I was like, Bruce Wayne was like, "Hey, my name?" Is like, the world is too small for Bruce Wayne to hide in. But I'll offer you a chance at redemption, a chance to, for what you want to do, Mr. Wayne. He's like, "What you can become." He's like, "What is that?" "A legend." And he's like, "There's a rare blue flower. Follow it and go into this mountain. It'll show you where to go." And what am I looking for? He's like, "Only you can know that." And then next thing you see Bruce fall off a truck. Again, quick editing. And the cinematography though in this film is very beautiful to look at, because when they're in Iceland, they're in Iceland, and Bruce finds the blue flower. walks up more, and you get to leave a Shadows building, which I think looks great. And Bruce just knocks, and they tell him, "What do you want? What are you trying to do?" He's like, "I seek to fight injustice, in order to become fear, It's like, to face death, but I'm not ready." He's like, "Death is not ready to be ready." Raish kicks him. Not Raish, I mean Henry Gord. But Raish Al Ghul, who we found out later is a decoy, played by Kim Wannabe. And then, Raish Al Ghul kicks his ass, like, "But you're not afraid of me, Mr. Wayne. Tell us, Mr. Wayne, what do you fear?" Then you see going back to when he was a kid, being attacked by the bats, and his father, Thomas Wayne's like, "It's okay," gets him out of there, and Bruce is just laying down because he's not feeling well from the attack. And Thomas tells, "You know why they attacked you? Because they were scared. All creatures are afraid, especially the scary ones. Especially the scary ones. I got this for your mother. These pearls for your mother. What do you think? They're nice." It was like, "It's time for you to get her to bed." They go to an opera, which I don't care for an opera. I do think it would have been better if they went to the movies and maybe saw like a horror movie, but I know no one didn't want that because it's realistic. So, but I didn't really care for. I'm not really a fan of opera, but that's just me. I thought, and then Bruce gets scared because he sees it like it's bats, and he tells Thomas, his dad's father, like, "Can we go, please? Can we go?" Like, "Sure." And then they go. And then his mother, Martha, says, "What's wrong, Bruce?" It's like, "No, it was me, just feeling sick, little opera, get you a little sick, right, Bruce?" And Bruce just... And as they're walking, Joe comes up to them with a gun, is like this, like, wall, like, cash fest, and Thomas is like, it's okay, I'll get you the wall," and actually drops it. He grabs it, he's like, "Your wife's frozen," and Thomas tries to stand in the way, gets shot, again, horrible editing, and then after Joe kills them, just runs away, and Bruce just, sits there, and it was just a good shot. But I do think it was better done in Batman '89, in my opinion, the Death Defense, because I think it was more intense. I think the music score was good, and him saying, "Have you ever, tell me something, kid, have you ever danced with the devil in a pail of moonlight?" I prefer it as Jack Napier, but that's just me. I know people are going to agree with me. That's fine. But I prefer Jack Napier. I prefer it was done in Batman '89 because that was more intense and more frightening than this. This was just bad editing, and again, Joe doesn't even come off as being scary. He's just a punk that went trigger happy on them. So more like the Wayne's deaths were accidental, or if you ask me, it was more of a setup. I don't know. My theory is that the Mafia maybe wanted to have them killed, but But after that, Bruce, they have a funeral, and Bruce tells Alfred he feels guilty, he cries, and I know people complain sometimes. I don't complain, you do feel sorry for him. The young kid that plays Bruce, he does a great job, and you can tell he's like, "Alfred, it was my fault. If I, now I got scared." Like, no, it's not your fault, Master Wayne. It was him, the murderer. It was that man's fault that did it. And, he's like, "I miss him ever so much," and he hugs him, and he's like, "I miss him too, sir." Now that he only has Alfred, kind of as a grandfather figure now. Alfred is pretty much his only family now, after the death of his parents. Then Bruce becomes a teenager, and I'm sorry, it's the time that I think he starts to bitch about his life, saying, "I don't care about this house, burn it down brick by brick. Alfred, why do you give a damn?" And Alfred's like, "I give a damn because the man that, this house, Mr. Wayne, has been here for generations." I'm like, Bruce just comes off as a wino sometimes, I swear. Maybe like the dialogue when he says, "You won't give up on your," Alfred's like, "No, never." I do like the moment where, Bruce looks through some of his father's stuff. His father was a doctor. The sound piece where you can hear somebody's heartbeat. And when he gets a gun, which I kind of thought that, maybe you didn't need that, but Bruce tells Rachel Dawes, who's now Katie Holmes, he tells her, "I'm not coming back, Rachel." I guess he's been going to Princeton College, and says that he's just going to leave up and not come back. He's like, "I'm only here for the hearing." We listen to the hearing. Joe says, "Oh, I felt bad for I did, no excuse for what I did." I'm like, I'm not feeling guilty because they let this guy go because, again, the city is corrupt, and the right money in the mob and the right who really run the city and are corrupted. JoJo's able to get away, but realistically, since he murdered 2 people, he technically would have been, if you're talking about realism, he would have been in jail for all of his life. Yeah. But, Gotham is corrupt. Bruce decides that he's going to take revenge, maybe shoot him, but instead somebody catches him. I don't like that JoJo gets killed off so easily like that. I think he should have lived. I think you could have done a lot more with this character. Maybe if you faced him as Batman years later, that would have been more interesting. But, Rachel's like, come on, Bruce, let's go. We don't need to see this like I do. And he just stares. And they talk about the city and Bruce again. Why no Bruce? Just saying, the city's, not right. Justice and revenge are the same. No, they're never the same. Justice is about, revenge about you making yourself feel better. Your city doesn't work or whatever. And he's like, I could finally kill him, Rachel. And he shows her, she's a the good people. I was like, I'm not one of your good people. She shows him the gun. And then, Rachel just slaps him. He's like, your father would be ashamed of you. And Bruce just walks out to go tell Falcone that he's not scared. And Tom Wilson, I thought, gave a great performance. He's like, no gun, Mr. Wayne. I'm insulted. I was like, you could have just said a thank you. Like, I ain't going to thank you. I'm just came here to tell you that not everybody in Gotham's afraid of you. As Bruce says, was like, only those that know me, kid. Now you see a judge, a mayor, and this over there. Now I'm going to have a sense to blow your brain out. Your brains are right in front of them. And that's the power of fear. Bang! It's like this. People from your world, you're Bruce Wayne. You're the Prince of Gotham. You have to go 3,000 miles for somebody to have to know your name. You fear, but you never understand. Alright. And then the men beat him up, and he tells Bruce, like, oh yeah, Joe, in the joint, Joe told me when he did you, that your father begged like a dog not to be killed. And they just throw Bruce out. Bruce has the gun in his hand. I think the Hans Zimmer music is decent. I've never been a fan of his score, but here's pretty good. Bruce just sees the gun and realizes that this is not him. That he hates guns, and he throws it in the river. Goes to this homeless man. Throws his wallet and money away. He's like, he's like, gives him money like this for your jacket. It's like, okay. What are you running from? Like, everyone, and Bruce decides to go on the run to become the one like criminal. So he goes around the world traveling. You see him steal a piece of fruit. He's eating this little kid watching him, and Bruce just gives the kid the fruit. And he tries to rob a store or commit a robbery. Gets arrested. Tells him in some language that he's not a criminal, and they said, tell that to the guy who owned these. They were owned by Wayne Enterprises. So, and then Bruce ends up in jail, and then we're back to where we're now, where he's at the League of Shadows, and Bruce, just tells Race that tells the guard that it's his fault. So it's been his fault. So you see these training sequences of it was like, it was like you beat the 7 criminals, but in case you could beat 100 men. And I like when they're on the ice and they're having the sword fight. Again, some of the editing is bad, but it is interesting to watch. Some of the dialogue. When Keisha become invisible, and then he tells his 2 ninjas that come down. He tells Bruce about these smoke pallets. They talk about a criminal guy that's been arrested for murder. He was like, what will happen to him? Crime won't be tolerated. Tells him that, and some good dialogue between him and Liam Neeson here. Having to go have a sword fight. He's like, the death of your parents' death wasn't your fault. It was your. I'm sorry, guys, but the fucking thing is messing up here. It's like, it was your father's. It was like, I'm training, we were attacked. And at the training, he fights some more, and Bruce is ever taking him down. He's like, you've been taking me down. You just lost your footing reflex. He hits the ice, and Bruce falls in the ice. Literally, he's pretty close. He's like, your shoulders will warm up themselves. And he's like, I do like that dialogue there when they're sort of fighting when he tells him, the man had a gun. Did that stop you? He tells him, that, and DeGore says that he had a wife, but she was taken from him and murdered, which I guess you could say that was in the comics a little bit with Ra's al Ghul, that his wife was killed, and maybe that's the reason by criminals. So maybe that's the reason he has maybe a hatred for criminals, I guess you could say. But Ra's is like, Bruce is like, well, what helped you? I helped you to go get through it. It's like, vengeance. That's no good to me. Why didn't you do something, Bruce? It's booming, but pretty much afterwards, though, Bruce is going to be joining the League of Shadows. He has to do this test first, where the ninjas are hiding, where this mask. And personally, I thought this scene was just some of the League of Assassins scenes here. I just thought were boring. I didn't really care for this scene where Bruce is, the ninjas are hiding, telling me he's the one to do the stealth and find his enemies, to control his fear and stuff. And I do like the scene though when he opens the box and his bat's coming out and he gets scared and he gets a cut from one of the men that fight him. So Bruce starts, putting cuts on some of the ninjas so that the guard thinks that it might be Bruce standing around. He's like this. And he's like, you must learn to mind your surroundings. And Bruce is behind him. He's like, found. And Ra's al Ghul is like, impressive. So they're going to associate him. He's got to do, one more association to join the League of Shadows. And it's like, you're ready to lead these men to the Gotham. You're ready for your destiny. And they bring this man that was a criminal, and they say, Bruce, take a sword and kill him. Bruce is like, no. He refuses to do it. He's like, no. I will fight men like this in Gotham, but I will not kill. This isn't the way. And it's like, this man should be tried by who? Democrats who will, bureaucrats, who will let him get away with murder and stuff? No. This is justice. This is our justice right here. And Bruce is like, you can't believe this. He's like, well, then he goes like, Ra's al Ghul saved us. Excuse me. Ra's al Ghul saved us. Sorry, let me. Okay. Just checking on my phone. Okay. Just in case I get a call or something. But anyway, it's turned down. But anyway. Everybody tells him that Ra's great is, and then, the decoy Ra's goes like, Gotham, time has come. It's a corrupt city, and it's injustice, and it can't be saved. Gotham must be destroyed. And, Bruce picks up the knife and thinks he's going to kill this guy, but instead, gets off this fire, starts this fire, and he punches the guard out, and he has a shitty fight with Ra's al Ghul. It's the decoy, they fight a bit, he dies by getting fire debris thrown on him, and Bruce grabs the guard, and while the building's blowing up, the Shadows building is blowing up, Bruce is able to jump out of there, with him. And my thing is though, even though you say this is realistic, when they're falling through the snow, and, Bruce has his sword, has his knife, just puts it on the ground, and one hand, the guard's body is like this, hanging on the side, and he's like, if you want to talk about reality, I think the guard would have been dead. I think it's hard to have a knife and a sword on the ground with one hand holding one person that's normally, on the cliff like this. You'd probably drop him. That's too heavy. No man's really strong enough to do that. But Bruce takes him to town, gets to a doctor, and he's like, I tell him you saved his life, and Bruce just, out of respect, and decides to go back to Gotham City by calling Alfred like, hello, Master Bruce, you look very exceptional. He's like, thank you, Alfred. And he tells Alfred what his plans are. As a man in flesh and blood, I can be ignored, I can be sure, but as a symbol, I can be everlasting. Now, for me, Batman is not a symbol. For me, Batman is a creature of the night. He is vengeance. That's what Batman is. Or, at least when he starts, I'm sorry, I know it keeps blurring out and stuff. I'm sorry. I know the audio sucks, but hopefully y'all can see me. But him and Bruce go back to Gotham City. He tells him that you had me declared dead. Even though 7 years says, well, it was, Rutger Hauer who declared him dead. And for his plans to become Batman, he of course goes back to Wayne Enterprises. He finds the Batcave. Well, this is a cool moment though when Bruce sees a bat. He's like writing some stuff down, and Alfred tells him about a cave, and Bruce goes on the cave that he found as a kid, and he's scared, but he faces this fear, just goes in and sees a bat cave in it. And I like the moment though. This is an awesome moment. I will admit, an epic moment, cool moment, when these bats are flying out, and Bruce is scared of her, but then he just kind of embraces it. Just stands there, really amazed to see the bats flying around him and stuff. I thought that was cool. It's kind of embracing the bat. Embracing the fear that he can become. God, this webcam drives me crazy sometimes. But he goes back to Wayne Enterprises and tells Rick he wants to work here, so he gets a job there. Even though I don't understand why he can't just buy the company, because he technically owns it. But I guess maybe he didn't know that before. Even though he's a billionaire, he could have just bought it out right away. Bruce talks to Lucius Fox, who was able to get some of these gadgets. He does them as like for ski jumping or something like that. Even though I don't think Bruce should get his Bat gadgets from Wayne Enterprises, just in case if it's his, only these gadgets owned by Wayne Enterprises, nobody can tell that he's Batman. You get it, what I'm saying? But Lucius Fox works there, works underground when Earl, Roy and Harold put him down there, because they don't like each other, or something like that. He sees the bat wings and the grapple gun and the bat suit, the armor, and he starts making the armor, put the spray on it, put a bat symbol on it. And then we meet Dr. John Crane, who played by Cillian Murphy, who is a psychiatrist, but he has this hospital where he does these secret experiments, I guess you can say, since he's Scarecrow, does these fear talks on people. Richard always finds him suspicious, tries to talk to him, but he just wants her to go away. Bruce is like listening to her conversations a little bit, just watching her, because knows that her life might be threatened. Jim Gordon, who I forgot to mention, we do see here when Bruce, after his parents was killed, you have a cop telling him that it's okay, he's not putting a jag over him, and that is James Gordon, who is just, a normal police officer for now. Tell him it's okay. Then we see Jim Gordon years later with his partner Flash. He's a detective, and he's one of the good cops. One that can be trusted, that is not corrupt like his partner Arnold Flash is. Or he's a sergeant, whatever, detective, whatever. Okay. Bruce ends up paying a visit to Gordon by wearing a mask of disguise, but I think they took inspiration from Mask of the Phantasm. He wears a ski mask and the armor a bit. He tells him, why can't nobody prosecute, about Cone? Because you gotta have leverage. I guess leverage means you gotta prove evidence. And you're just one man. No, we're both. He does this creepy voice a little bit. And when he runs, though, and Gordon catches up with him and has a gun, he's like, freeze! And it does take him a little bit of time just to jump up there, which I'm like, why didn't he just shoot him? Realistically, if a cop is telling somebody to freeze, and you don't freeze, they're probably going to shoot at you. Because they might think you're armed, or a crazy person might kill somebody, they're probably going to shoot you. But Bruce jumps maybe 10 feet off to the next building. Realistically, I'm like, no, sorry, this ain't realistic, because realistically, he's got no bat suit. It's just a ski mask and armor he's wearing, and no cape. So there's no way from the glass, so he probably would have fallen straight to his fucking death. I'm sorry. That is not realistic. You can't jump 10 feet from a fucking building and attempt to live, If it only gives 10 feet to me, and I'm like, how could you freaking live from that, That just doesn't make any sense to me. But, yeah, Bruce and Alfred start building more of the suits, start more of the gadgets, and they talk about having to be shipped every sequence, Bruce tells them, well, I guess we have to do one by one then. And I like that when they see the waterfall, Bruce goes to the waterfall just to fill on it. And he's like, Alfred, come check this out. And Alfred's like, no, okay, Master Wayne, Master Bruce, I can wait here, which I thought was funny. And the waterfall looks amazing, so I like the waterfall in the Batcave. which is also used as an entrance to the Batcave. And he gets the tumbler, and he drives it, and he's like, Bruce is like, no, push it down, and he tells Lucius, does it come in black? Then you find out that Falcone, who still runs the corrupt city, and, him and Jonathan Crane talk is like this. Crane tells him, you scratch my back, dog, I'll scratch yours. I want to know what you're into, I want to know who you're working for, who your boss is. He's like, well, I know what he says. My boss doesn't trust you, and when he gets here, he's coming to Gotham? Yes, he is coming to Gotham. And, what you've been doing, he's not going to like, Mr. Falcone. And Falcone tells Flash, who's a dirty cop working with him, Gordon's partner, that they need him at the docks, and they do this drug shipment. And this is where you get the first appearance of Batman, basically. Well, him sneaking around. Christopher Nolan said that this scene was like, he took inspiration from Alien. He wanted to fear that atmosphere. You just have these guys doing these shipments. One guy goes in the crane, and then, because Batman grabs him, and they're like, Joe? Oh, we that guy? Batman with the battering knocks the light out, and the guy picks the battering up, and they look up, and Batman jumps down, and this guy runs, and I can feel the intense fear. And then you have this one bad guy who's got a machine gun, starts shooting, he's Batman, shooting, powers like this. Where are you? And Batman's like, sneaks up, like upside down, I was like, here. But then what ruins the scene is when Falcone comes to hear what's going on. Bruce fights with these 15, 20 guys. Batman fights with these 20 guys. And I swear to God, the editing is horrible. The editing is just completely terrible. And then what ruins it more is, I do like it when Falcone's like, gets a shotgun, like, what the hell are you? And then he, picks him through the window. He's like, I'm Batman! He's like, I'm Batman! And I just did not feel the fear there, I'm sorry. He didn't need to fight all these 10, 20 fucking guys to be scary. When Michael Keaton Batman came down, when Batman 89 just said to the two guys, that was more intense and scarier. When they try to shoot him, he stands up, you feel the fear. And then when he gets the battering and pissed the guy up, he's like, where are you? I'm Batman. That's Batman to me. That's the creature of the night. That's what Batman is. Not, I'm Batman with the, again, the voice is not so bad, but I didn't like this line that Batman says to the guy that he saw, that the homeless man looks at him and he's like, nice coat. I'm like, yeah, pretty lame line delivery in my opinion. I'm like, if you want to take Batman Dark and seriously, don't have him try to say a corny line like that. I just thought it was too corny. Nice coat, and then jump away. And then, you find out Rachel was going to be attacked because Rachel was trying to see what he's up to. Trying to go after Falcone and Crane. So, Crane also talked to, Falcone about it, telling that we should just pair off. He's like, no, we got this girl. Not this attorney. And then they try to come deal with her when, Rachel's getting off a train, and this guy, acting like he's calling, and then she leaves. He gets off the phone after pretending to be on it, and then Rachel, hits him, and she pulls out a taser, and Batman sticks up, the other guy attacks him, and this guy sees it and he runs. I'm sorry, guys, for the blurriness here. And I like it when she says, yeah, that's right, you better run. She sees Batman, she's like, tries to shoot him, but of course the taser doesn't hurt the body armor. He's like, he was like, someone like you, someone who wants to, Falcone sent this man. He was like, why? You rattle his cages. And then he shows him the pictures. What's this? He's like, leverage. Who are you? Someone like you, someone who wants to rattle the cages. And then Batman disappears, and then you see the shot of Batman just kind of, on top of the building with the cape going off, and that was cool. Very cool shot. Then he ties, after capturing Falcone, he ties him to Claremont Falcone himself to a searchlight, makeshift like a bat signal. And so Falcone they get proof of his crime and evidence, and he gets sent to jail. Yeah. And after the first night of Batman, you see him, sleeping, which I heard Christian Bale really did fall asleep in this scene. And that was interesting to see, Bruce Willis get up from being Batman, that he is probably tired quite a bit because he had to stay up all night being Batman. But I was like, that's not a time, but Master Wayne, you've got to get up. But I do like the scene though where he has a nice car, and this, what you call him, a valet says to Bruce, like, nice cars, like Bruce, like, you should check out my other one. And then he's with these girls, and he does this, and Christian Bale does a very good job with playing Bruce Wayne, because the facade, which is not the voice, he should not change his voice, so people know, it's the Bruce Wayne, it's the disguise here, see, as a billionaire playboy, because here, he's hanging out with these chicks, dating these girls, being a billionaire playboy, which is the Bruce Wayne disguise, and they talk about Batman taking out the cop, taking out not the cops, but even though the Commissioner Loeb tells Gordon, we're going to arrest Batman when you go after him, no one takes him to the law in my city. Got that? But they talk about, Batman, that he's good, that somebody shouldn't be doing that, or being a vigilante and stuff. And I said, Bruce, what are you thinking? Bruce says, guy that dresses up like a bat clearly has issues. And then one of the restaurant owners says that the girls are in the pool. He's like, your friends are over there in the pool and they should not be. And Bruce is like, well, and then pulls money out. I was like, I'm buying this hotel and changes some rules about the pool area. Excuse me. And then jumps in the pool himself with these girls. He did very well done playing that Bruce Wayne persona. And then he sees Rachel. She's like, Bruce is like, Rachel, this isn't really me. I am more. No, Bruce, what you do deep down is what defines you. Yeah. And then he goes as Batman again. He's investigating what's in the drugs, because it's unusual shipment. So he's trying to investigate, do a little detective work. Your Dr. Jonathan Crane it's in the Narrows because he finds out information from first Batman talks to Gordon, tell him that Flash might know something, and he tells Batman that he trusts him. But, I do like that they add Gordon, him building friendship, which they never did in the Tim Burton Schmurder films. Gordon was just kind of there to be there. Really served no purpose at all. To be honest, Ian Packing did a good job. It's just, here we get a friendship. But one complaint is that I don't think Gordon should have trusted Batman. I just think that, like in Batman Origins, the video game, he should be a little negative toward Batman at first, not trust him because he's a vigilante. Because Jim Gordon is a lawman. And Batman does not follow the law like Jim does. So he should, as someone at first, be skeptic. I'm sorry, the freaking blurriness in the video, but shouldn't trust him at first. But first he tells Batman, he's like, "What do you think?" Loeb wants to get a task force to arrest you, but Batman asks him, "What do you think?" I think you're trying to help, but I've been wrong before. Because Batman disappears, but Batman also. There's another dialogue I like between them when he says, what do you think? I think you're trying to help. I already said that. And it tells him about Arnold Flash, but he knows he won't talk to anybody. Batman's like, he'll talk to me. So, of course, Flash, being the overweight cop that he is, of course, eating all the time, is, getting a taco or whatever. It's raining. Batman gets him on the back grapple. And this is where the voice becomes very silly and over the top. And Batman's like, where are the other drugs? Where's the other drugs going? I'm not going to do that voice. Even, Christian Bale would do that. He would lose his voice a couple times behind the scenes of this movie. Where are the other drugs going? I don't know, I swear. He's like, swear to me! Wasn't there? He's like, nah, and then pulls him back up. Where? I hear the drugs are in the Narrows. That's where they're at. He's like, but the cops won't even go. He's like, Batman's like, your eyes look like a cop. And then Batman puts him down, and Batman goes to the Narrows. In this building too. Well, he sees this kid at first. He's like, his parents are arguing. Batman sees him because he's like a spy gadget or whatever, so he can spy where the drugs. But he sees this kid. This kid's like, that's you, isn't it? everyone's been talking about it. No kids will really believe me, so Batman throws the gadget at him, which is okay, fine, but hopefully it doesn't say, oh, my Wayne Enterprises on it, But anyway, Batman sneaks into the building, tries to tell some of the stuffed animals, shows what's more in there. But of course, jumping, Crane shows up, and these two men show up. They're going to burn it down. And then, they're putting gasoline. One guy takes a piss, and then Batman, hits his head on the side, and, one tries to use the light, Batman takes him out, but then Crane gets on his Scarecrow mask. I forgot to mention before, we do see him as Scarecrow when he talks to Falcone, who pretends that he's going to be suicidal so he can get out of jail. And he tells him, whatever you got, I want in. And, Crane says, well, I don't want boss to say that we should kill you. I was like, and then Falcone, Crane all of a sudden says, which I forgot to mention this, and he tells him, would you like to see my mask? And then he shows him a Scarecrow mask. I'm probably not scared of a girl. Like, he was like, so when did the doctor leave the nut house, huh? When did the nut leave the nut house? And then turns the machine on, turns on the fear toxin, the fear gas, and, he's like this, scares him. But like I said, we've seen Batman being in this apartment. Crane doses him with the gas, and this is my issue. Batman has to get taken out like a bitch, because Crane says something like, really? You couldn't sneak out head first. I'm like, I don't know how Crane gets so fast to get the mask. We didn't even see the mask on. I guess he keeps the Scarecrow mask like, hey, just in case if a vigilante attacks me, I'll just put on the Scarecrow mask really fast, And Batman should be a little quicker. You're portraying my freaking ninjas. Should be able to sneak around a little quickly more. But, you see horrible editing of, he's like, you look like a guy, you need to sit down. You look like a guy that takes yourself too seriously. And you see in the fear of Scarecrow with the mask, like, it's like if a snake's come out of it. If he my advice, you need to lighten up. And puts him on fire. And he falls like maybe 20 feet from the building. It still looks like 20 feet. And, again, walks away without a scratch. He's on fire a bit. Tries to escape. Batman's running. Uses a grapple with, and it's like, Alfred! The toxin, Alfred! It's in the cave! He doesn't say that, but when, Bruce has flashbacks of his parents, he's like, again, 20 feet from a building, falling off of pretty much a high building, he probably would have been dead realistically. Again, this isn't a really comic book movie, since no one says it's realistic. Well, these realistic things, he maybe would have been dead, Falling so high up from a maybe 20 feet or 15-foot building, he would have been injured at least, But, Bruce wakes up 2 days later. Bruce just tells him that he's able to get a cure for the disease, a cure for the toxin, And basically it's his like 30th birthday, and they tell him, happy birthday, Master Wayne. And Bruce has got to get ready for his party. Rachel comes over to give him a gift. I'm sorry, Bruce, but I can't come to your party. I can't come tonight because her boss is pretty much killed after finding the secret. Well, Roger Howard finds out that this Wayne Enterprise is a machine that it can create a gas or whatever. It could do some damage. And that this is going missing. And after Rachel's boss goes missing, she must investigate it by talking to Dr. Jonathan Crane, having to go down to his hospital to see, and she finds it very suspicious, so she needs to talk to Crane. And she tells Bruce, have a good birthday. And Bruce listens and gives us the rock that when they played with when they were kids. And Bruce believes that he's in danger, and he's like, I gotta go save Rachel. And I do like that he has a cool elevator, and that he opens the suit. This door, and the bat suit, and the bat cowl, which looks pretty cool. Suits up and gets ready to go save her. Later, Rachel was talking to Dr. Jonathan Crane, saying it's suspicious that a 52-year-old man who has a record of, suicidal tendencies, just all of a sudden have a mental breakdown. Doesn't make sense because, Falcone's like strapped up, like being crazy, like this Scarecrow. And she, Crane's like, come with me please, I'll show you where we keep the medicine at. And she sees the medicine, see that the fear toxin that he's creating, maybe we should have some clear, but she tries to run away, but doesn't have a key to get back up there. She's just being frantic and scared. And then Scarecrow opens it and then puts the fear gas on her and then gets her. And he, Scarecrow asks, "Which I like her?" He's like, "Who you working for? Who you working for?" And she sees like the termites on his face as he puts it on his face. "Who you working for?" And then it's like they see the Batman. And Crane's like, "The Batman. Call the police. You want the police here? The police will be too strict to catch the Bat. But Batman has a talent for disruption. I hear he can't be killed. I hear he can do this." And he's like, "We'll find out, won't we?" And he sneaks around with the Scarecrow mask because Batman was sneaking around again, bad editing. Batman, before, Scarecrow can do something again, Batman grabs and takes his mask off. "Take it for your own medicine, doctor." And you see Batman, he sees the hallucination of Batman as a monster, like, "Crane, who you working for?" Crane sees him as a monster, and Crane's like, Ra's al Ghul. It's like, Ra's al Ghul is dead. Crane is like, "Dr. Jonathan Crane's not here right now, but if you like to leave a message, go ahead." And Batman just knocks him out and, picks up Rachel. You probably do that poster in the movie, one of the posters of him. He picks up Rachel, the cops sneak in, Gordon goes in, and Batman's able to sneak and get Gordon and ask him for help. It's like what Crane did to her. There was something in the toxin, something dangerous that is, Crane is just a pawn. He's working for somebody that's planning to attack or destroy Gotham. And Batman has a backup plan to signal the bats. And he's like, "What's that?" He's like, "Bats." And then the bats come up, the cops get scared by all these bats flying around. Batman flies down there, down the building, which I thought was cool. And this is what I thought was the funny moments though, where Batman, Gordon's like, "Let's take my quarters." Like Batman's like, "I want mine." It's like, "Yours." And then Batman, he shows off. Sorry for the blurriness, folks. I'm so sorry. I apologize for the blurriness. Alright, there we go. But I loved it when Gordon says, he sees the tumbler, the bat tank, he's like, "I gotta give me one of those." I thought that was funny. And then him and Batman, Batman's telling her, "Rachel, you've been hit with fear toxin, you need to relax," and she's just scared. I don't know why he couldn't have dosed her before or something to pass her out, because this woman is scared to death, and you're wearing a bat suit, probably scaring her to death, so it's not making it any easier. But, there's a police chase, and, it's like, "What's the name of the car?" It's we got a black tank or something like that. And then Batman's driving away from these cops, and one cop is like, at least tell me what it looks like." And then he sees the tank, the teller's like, "Never mind." He's like, "Never mind." And then, he said realistically Batman is on these buildings, it's like, then he's able to sneak in there, blow up the side of the building, and able to jump to these buildings, which again is not realistic to me. People complain about Batman Forever, but Batman Forever is a comic book movie, and it's not realistic, so that's what it gets away with that. But here, you want to say realistic, the Batmobile, this tumbler, this car is not capable of driving on rooftops like that. I thought that was ridiculous, I'm like, no, a car like this could not be jumping the rooftop. I'm like, no, that's just not realistic to me. I thought that was pretty lame, but that's just me. And then the shots were edited, so the chase is fine, but I don't think it's well shot. Batman was up, he spikes out of the cars, and eventually he's able to get away from the cops by hiding the Batmobile in the dark. And lightning, turns the lights on the cops to see if they can get him, but he's able to, Rachel passes up. And this, again, with his over-the-top voice, and it's not used much in here as it is in the sequels, but he's like, Rachel going out, Rachel, passes out, and he's like, "Rachel!" They jump, and he quickly, gives her the toxin. She wakes up. He says, "You returned with fear toxin. You know, I got it out of you. You know, why'd you bring me here? It was like, I had no choice. If I didn't, you'd be dead. It's like this. He tells Rachel, give Gordon this toxin. He'll be fine. You know, just in case if something happens. And trust no one. And trust Gordon alone. And then he's like, Crane was just a pawn. We need to be ready. Passes her out. You know, gives her the drug. Just passes her out. And after that, takes his mask off. You know, he goes up to Bruce Wayne to get ready for his party. And he's like, I thought you were going to use this monster, you know, to terrorize the city, or, you know, why are you using it like that? And Batman, you know, Bruce is like, I'm using this monster, you know, to interfere in the city, or whatever. And he tells, and Bruce Wayne's like, I don't care about my father's name. He's like, it's not just your father's name, sir, it's your name as well. Don't waste it, you know. And I'm like, I thought Bruce was being a bit of a jerk there, but then Bruce goes to the party. You know, like I said, Bill does a very good job playing the playboy type. You know, just gets a drink and welcomes everybody, and, you know, talks to Lucius about going to, you know, get more, you know, create more of an antidote. We need more of it, just in case something happens to the city. And this lady wants to start, he's like, no, and he says, whatever the lady's name was. Am I pronouncing this right? Mr. Ra's al Ghul? And he's like, Bruce's like, you're not Ra's al Ghul. And then, like I said, not much of a spoiler alert. Henry the Gore is of course Ra's al Ghul, which I hated that. I'm like, why reveal it at the end? You know, I have my issues with what they did with the character here, but I'll get into that later. But Ra's al Ghul is like, is Ra's al Ghul immortal? Is his methods supernatural? You know, he's like, for you to hide your true identity, Ra's. You know, he tells Bruce, you know, about his plan. You're welcome to explain the situation to these people about what we're going to do, this attack that'll happen. And, you know, Bruce does the billionaire playboy act and is like, look, you sycophants, quit smiling through your teeth at me. You know, you're just you suck ups of people. Get out of my house. Get out. It's not a joke. Stop smiling. Leave. You know, and one guy says, Mr. Wayne, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, Mr. Wayne. Bruce is like, you know, and then, sorry, just need to check my phone. And then you know, not Gordon. He tells Bruce, Ra's says, amusing but pointless. None of these people have long to live. And you see some of Raz's men just watching some of the League of Assassins. And he tells them that, you know, they've done this before. You know, our weapons are built up more. We've burned London to the ground. So Ra's al Ghul, I'm going to call him Ra's, whatever, but here Ra's. But anyway, Ra's, you know, okay. Ra's al Ghul, he's pretty much kind of like the equal Batman. He's like the opposite. Batman wants to be vengeance and fight crime, and of course be a beacon of hope and to save the city and stop crime. But Ra's wants to destroy crime, believes that burning down cities, maybe killing millions of people, that if a city can't be saved, if crime is just unstoppable, to destroy and kill everyone in it. You know, that's the way he sees it, as his brand of justice is. Batman does not have the same brand of justice as he does. You know, he tells him Gotham is worth saving, just give me more time. He tells him, no, I'm not giving you more time, Bruce. This attack is going to happen now. And he tells Bruce, you're my greatest student. I'd be honored if you joined me by my side. And Bruce is like, I'll be standing against you and with the people of Gotham. I was like, figures. You know, and he's like, they talk about true justice. And he's like, and he begins to burn. Like, you burned my house to the ground. Let's call us even. And he's like, you know, when a person stands by true justice, what you do, you simply stand behind them with a knife and stab them in the heart. They try to do that. Bruce attacks. He tries to fight Ra's, but Ra's knocks him out, you know, and burns his house to the ground. And Ra's tells his leaves, you know, no one leaves or they die, you know. So they just make the burn Wayne down completely. And you know, and some of the crooks, the League of Assassins, I guess, break out all the criminals, including Victor Zsasz, and Gordon tries to talk to Crane about who he's working for, and Crane's like, Scarecrow. It's like, it's too late now, and then they give Crane his message like, it's time to play. The criminals get out, and some reason Flash says, oh, we're not we need to send every available cop out here to stop these crooks. It's like, we're not going to stop this until the I'm like, wow, way to serve and protect, You got all these criminals on the loose. Realistically, I think you would think every cop would actually go out there and put their jobs on the line like they do every day, even in real life. If criminals are breaking out, cops are going to go after them. They're not going to be like, oh, let's just wait until the police show up. No, you go after them now. Let's just send them out for them to attack and kill people. That's a good thing, isn't it? Flash, you fat idiot, But anyway. Well, even Gordon recommends it. Flash is like, no. But Bruce is like, chucked under the log. And Alfred sneaks up to one of the boss's men, knocks him out with a golf club. Was like, I hope you don't remember the Bloody Brigade or something like that. Brigade or something. And then he's like, Master Bruce. So he's like, all those bloody push-ups and you can't lift up a bloody log, And he pushes it up. And him and Alfred go to the Batcave. They gotta, for them in the Batcave, they have to go through this door, like through a piano. You have to cue the notes right. And they go down fast. And Bruce is like, I fell, Alfred. I fell completely. He's like, Master Wayne, why do we fall? So we can get back up. That's a good line of dialogue. And then Bruce, of course, goes out, puts on his bat suit to prepare for a final fight. But they're also piping this, this drug into the water supply, which, Rich tells them that they just needed his toxin to prepare to destroy the city. That, Crane just thinks that they're going to help the city to ransom, so they're just basically using him. Raish prepares with his man. They pretend to be like SWAT or whatever. Rachel wakes up and goes give the antidote to Gordon. Gordon tells her to get out of there. She's able to go in there because I'm an attorney. Let me in. And then they're going to vaporize it with a microwave emitter stolen from Wayne Enterprises. The subway that was always talked about before goes to the righteous man's like, my mom, I lost my mom. And Rachel goes by like, hey, what are you doing? And Roz is like, and the time to panic is now. And he starts the button. They put these masks on. Batman comes, they talk about, the fear gas goes off, people are going crazy, they're in fear and panic. Gordon, shoots himself with the antidote. I'm by myself over here. He doesn't even knock out Flash because Flash is in fear as well, pointing a gun back to shoot these kids, so, he knocks out Flash and handcuffs him. And Batman is able to, jump the car and tells him, the central water hub, as well as over through the train, this is the way we're going to be able to destroy it, from reaching the water supply. Destroy them completely. Can you drive a stick? And so Gordon gets out of the Batmobile, which was cool, Batman confronts Ra's al Ghul and tells him, I can't find both you upon. He's like, oh well, you took around my literally, a bit literally, didn't you? And he fights again. The fight scene has a fight scene with the League of Shadows. Crappy shaky cam. Batman clumsily, ends up losing his back grapple, because one of the righteous men knocked it out of his hand, and he has to go down there to the street and get in all these people and fear attack Batman. And, Batman's able to shoot, get his grapple gun to the train, and I like that scene though when he's, kind of like gliding a little bit. Batman ends up on the train, which, Ra's is getting ready for his plan. He does save. Rachel and Rachel and that little boy end up getting attacked by Scarecrow. Scarecrow like, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. It's like, Gray, no, there was only Scarecrow. And Scarecrow gets tased like a bitch, honestly. He gets tased, she's like, afraid? Did I get you now? You know, or something like that for yourself, and then she tased him in the face, and Scarecrow's like, you know. And then Victor Zsasz tries to attack her. It's a little more in the video game, but Victor Zsasz, I think, was done a lot better in Gotham, you know, in my opinion. Here, Zsasz is just here to be here, I guess you can say. But Batman saves him, and she says, you could die. Always tell me your name, Rachel says, but what I do that defines me. Says that one that she's like Bruce, and then sees him gliding. But later was being able to train. I'm sorry, I sometimes go over where my reviews. Batman shoots the grapple up. He's able to, you know, get into there. He's like, and then him and Ross have a fight, and the shaky cam editing is horrible. You know, Gordon has a hard time driving the car a little bit, even almost runs over cars by accident. You know, and prepares to shoot the weapon system, and some host guys like, nice train. You know, Batman and Ross are still fighting. He's like, Ross is like, you know, gets the lead on Batman, just steps on him and chokes him. He's like, Bruce, you know, you won't fight injustice, and you won't do what is necessary. That's why you can't stop this train. You know, like, who said anything about stopping it? If they're going to blow up and destroy the train down, destroy the rail so the train won't go to the water supply. It's going and shooting at it, and then, you know, he gets in trouble. He's like, you never learn to mind your surroundings. Like, Batman doesn't kill him. He's like this. Finally, you must learn to do what is necessary, Bruce. He's like, I don't have to kill you. And then separates the train. He's like, but I don't have to save you. And then glides right out of there. Ross looks and just kind of closes his eyes, and the train falls, and he ends up dying. But maybe he can come back to life with his Lazarus pit, but it's not in here, so. But anyway, saves Gotham. You know, after Gordon helps out. After following the battle, though, like the next day, Rutger Hauer gets fired. You know, Earl gets fired because he fired. He fired Morgan Freeman's character, Lucius Fox, but Fox ended up getting his job because Bruce tells him, what makes you think you can decide who can fire and hire? He's like, well, since it's my company now in my name, and I bought most of the shares, so he pretty much bought the company. And it's like, so Rutger Hauer's like, see you later, you're fired, bye. Following after that, though, Batman does become a public hero. It says in the paper, drunken billionaire, you know, burned down his house, but, you know, again, he has to put on that persona of being a billionaire playboy, just to hide that disguise of being Batman. You know, they're trying, you know, over the will, he's able to put, like, Will in there. Rachel comes in and tells her that, you know, that she's always been in love with him, you know, but, you know, maybe when Gotham no longer needs Batman, maybe we can be together. But that man I love is gone. And, you know, Bruce respects that. They do share a kiss. And he's like, what do you do now? He's like, I'm going to build it, again, brick by brick. You know, him and Alfred have a talk, and then after that, and toward the ending of the film, you know, they have a bat signal now for Batman, which, you know, lets him know when there's trouble or when he's needed. Him and Batman talk, you know, like, it's Lieutenant now, thanks to you. And it's like, Batman's like, we will bring Gotham back. We will save it. You know, it's like, they start carrying carriers. We start carrying this. They start doing this. We do that. Batman's like, yeah. And you're wearing wearing a mask. Yeah, Batman says. And it's like, but yeah, and he's like, well, this guy is armed robbery, murder, has a taste for the theatrical like you, and then gives him a Joker, implying that, you know, Joker will be probably in the sequel, which of course he is in The Dark Knight, but that gives us the end of it. I was like, Batman's like, I'll look into it. You know, I was like, I never said thank you, and Batman comes around. I was like, and you'll never have to. And Batman flies off and glides, and then that's the end of the movie. That's the end of Batman Begins. Alright. Let me give my final opinion on Batman Begins, of what I think about this movie. But before I do that, Let's pour me some water. Hold on, folks. So I keep on checking on my phone, but time is since it's Sunday, I got to do some things because I have to be at work at 5:30 in the morning. So if I seem to be a little bit off in the video, it's just for me on this day, it's kind of certain things I have to do. Especially since I have to work at 5:30 in the morning. But anyway, Batman Begins. All in all, for me, it's an okay film, but I still think it's overrated. For me, it's a very overrated movie. I don't think it's a terrible film. I can see why we needed a film like this right after Batman and Robin with a bad taste in people's mouth. But for me, it wasn't the Batman film I needed. I didn't need Batman to be realistic. I needed it to be dark. You make it dark and serious, but for me, the problem I've always had with Christopher Nolan's Batman films is Batman is not somebody that Bruce Gotham does not need him to be Batman. Because what am I saying? Batman to me, he is vengeance. He's a creature of the night. He's not just a symbol. He's not there because Gotham needs him. No, Batman is his destiny. Batman is who he is. It's like that film these films just take that away. But overall, Christopher Nolan, I think, does a good job directing, but he's a great director. Inception is fantastic. I love the dream sequences in that movie. It is very realistic. But Nolan can't shoot action scenes, and the editing is terrible. David Scoria did an alright job writing. But to me, the problem was the story was not very investful. The whole back and forth thing just aggravated me. I didn't care about that. It just kind of dragged the story, in my opinion. I know he wants to go off Superman in the movie. Superman in the movie, it took a while to see Superman, okay? It did. That's 45 minutes in. It takes too long to see Batman. But the thing is, in Superman in the movie, the difference is I developed in the story. I didn't care about the whole thing that Bruce is in prison and that he goes to be trained. I'm like, okay, Ra's al Ghul, being trained by Ra's al Ghul, that didn't happen in the comics, I believe. Probably didn't. I don't think it did. Tell me in the comments if you read a Batman comics. Anybody that's read a Batman comic book, was Bruce Wayne trained by Ra's al Ghul in the comics? I don't remember. But him being League of Assassins, I didn't care about the whole training League of Shadows to be a ninja. That just didn't work for me. Batman can be trained by ninjas as Batman in the anime series, but to me, I don't think you needed the origin story that much for this film. Batman, to me, is not only a dark and mysterious character, but his background, his backstory, we know how he became Batman because of his parents' death, but following after that, I think it should remain a mystery. And I just, again, the whole thing, and some of the film there just gets boring, the back and forth scenes, but you do have great performances in the film. You have great actors, like I said, you have great supporting characters, great, fantastic actors like Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Gary Oldman, Cillian Murphy, Tom Wilson, Rutger Hauer, Ken Wannabe, and Morgan Freeman. I think they're all great in their supporting roles. Katie Holmes, I thought, was alright. Christian Bale, I do think he plays a good Bruce Wayne. I just don't like the whole thing with I want to be a symbol, but I do like his backstory, and Christian Bale, I think, does a good job of him. As Batman, I just felt like he does not have much to do. I mean, I don't remember Batman doing that much in this film. Detective work, not very much. I just don't feel the fear. And the voice at times is very over the top. And Batman, to me, just has no presence in this film. I just don't fear him. I do like the concept the movie is about fear and having to face your fear and Bruce becoming that fear, but for me, I just didn't find him scary. I didn't. And the scene, saying I'm Batman just didn't work for me. It just fell flat. Yes, folks, I'm sorry. I don't think this film is amazing. This wasn't the Batman film for me. Just, it's not a terrible movie by many means. And the whole thing, what they do with villains, I'm like, I understand Christian Bale, but what Christian Bale said, the film that's not focused on the villains, but Bruce and that. But the villains should be also a focus as well, because Batman's villains are important as Batman himself is. And Scarecrow is very underused in this movie. He's just, Cillian Murphy does a good job. Sorry. Cillian Murphy does a terrific job as Scarecrow, but the problem is Scarecrow is not much in this movie. He just has nothing to do. and he gets taken out like a bitch, getting shot in the face, and I'm like, Scarecrow and the next two movies just had cameos, and that's it. So Scarecrow is completely underrated. Batman Arkham Knight did it better with Scarecrow being the main. Scarecrow is so underrated, and I want to see him better. Hopefully, if we get like the Batman when it gets a sequel, or maybe like the third movie, I would love to see Scarecrow as a main villain, and I want him to see just as a Scarecrow. Again, this is a comic book movie. I was just realistic. No, he has to be just in a suit. I'm like, a guy that wears a Scarecrow mask thinking every day's Halloween. I'm like, no. The Scarecrow was just here to be here. Just Scarecrow and mask and name only. Ra's al Ghul, again, Ra's al Ghul. And second, there's no Lazarus Pit. Ra's is known as the Demon's Head. He's lived for 600 over thousands of years. Gotham played of that very well, and he should look Egyptian. He should look, he didn't resurface as Henry the Guard. He doesn't need dual identity. I'm like, Ra's doesn't need that. He should be Egyptian, and the big problem is the Lazarus Pit. Without that, in this movie, he's a pointless character. He's a useless character in this movie. He's just here to train Bruce Wayne to be Batman and then be the villain. And the thing I was mad about was, he has to be the end of the movie. I'm like, why can't we just say that before? I'm like, why does Ra's need a decoy? Again, that's the whole thing with Lazarus Pit. People would think he's dead. He's an undead man. They'd fear him. He's like a ghost almost. If you think about it, like a terrifying ghost that you think is dead and then comes back to life. So again, but Nolan, realistic. I'm like, again, Inception is realistic. Based on true stories, movies can be realistic. I don't know realism in a movie, but for a comic book film, for a superhero like Batman, who's a comic book character, should not be realistic. It doesn't work. That voice, the whole thing. Where are the drugs going? Swear to me. It's just very over the top and silly. And the cowl I like, but honestly, Christian Bale completely looks overweight. And the suit doesn't even look that great. The cowl was good, but the rest of it I don't like. And I hate the tumbler. That's my least favorite. It looks like a tank. It's not a Batmobile. It looks pretty lame, in my opinion. I don't like it. The tumbler, I call it the tank. It's the Bat Tank. The Bat Tumbler. It's not a Batmobile. It doesn't even resemble a bat. It resembles a tank, like they, were working for the military. And the whole thing, though, with getting gadgets from Wayne Enterprises, I'm like, why? Hopefully one of those gadgets, do they all say owned by Wayne Enterprises? Thank God Gordon didn't, in the Batmobile, didn't say, some sign or, look in the local part and say owned by Wayne Enterprises. Why does he need to have gadgets built at Wayne Enterprises? Again, Batman, I think, Batman is an intelligent, creative character. He's smart, he's a genius, he should be able to build his own gadgets. Why would he want to do it at Wayne Enterprises? If somebody finds him that's suspicious and can find out that he's Batman. But I will say also the cinematography looks beautiful in this film. The cinematography is great. The editing is horrible. The fight scenes, like I said, the shaky cam is a bother. The fight scenes suck in this movie. I don't like any of the action fight scenes. When the humor is there, the humor is funny. This film is not completely serious. And I like the nighttime scenes, but the look of Gotham City, I don't like. It does look like downtown Chicago or New York. Gotham City, Tim Burton knew it was a fantasy. That's what movies are. Escapism. People say, this is a work of art. No. Movies can be both. A work of art and escapism. That's what Batman 89 is to me. It's a work of art and escapism. It's another world. It's fantasy. Batman is fantasy. Batman is a comic book character. Gotham City does not look like fucking Chicago. Excuse my language. Why make it look like that? And Bruce Wayne whining about his life. Alfred, why do you give a damn? Build the chair down, put that work in, like, when, I know your parents were killed, but my God, could you stop whining about your life? Batman to me should be dark, and he should want to be Batman. I like that in the Batman. He's emo, and nothing matters to him but being Batman. Yeah, Michael Keaton, he's not comfortable being under the skin of Batman, and he's dark and depressing. He's, it's like to him just being Batman is the only thing that matters. Even in Batman 89, he's dark and mysterious. Batman Forever, yeah, he does a billionaire playboy act. Without Cooper's Batman, he is dark and he's depressing. He can't just take off the suit. It's like Gotham doesn't need him to be Batman. Batman is who he is. He realizes by the end of that movie that Batman is who he is. Batman is a beacon of hope, not a symbol, for Gotham City. But he does start off as vengeance. At least Batman 89 had the balls to him for him to kill people. But again, it's called character growth. Yeah, I do think if you're going to start with the Batman movie, you should probably have him be dark and maybe kill, maybe even use a gun, if they have the fucking balls to ever do that in a movie. You can do that with Batman. Dark and mysterious. Not with a raspy voice. And the film at times does, like I said, it does get a little boring. And again, I think it's just overrated. Again, I know it's not like I'm ranting, but I don't hate this movie. It's okay. I think it's a decent time waster at best. I'm sorry. If you love the movie, that's fine. I mean, to each his own. We agree to disagree, but I don't see why these films are considered masterpieces. I just don't understand why. I think they're highly overrated, but that's just me, But I'm not going to get into an argument about Tim Burton's Batman or, anything about Batman Forever I just mentioned, or the Batman. I'm not going to argue that until I review the Batman. One day will be reviewed. Not anytime after this, but, one day down the road. But I'm not going to get into no debates. So, but anyway, guys, to sum up my opinion on the movie, Batman Begins is okay, in my opinion. If you think it's amazing, you think it's great, you think it's the bee's knees, that's fine. I can't change your opinion. I'm not here to do that. This is just my channel, my opinion, my voice. If you don't like it, then you can leave. But if you respect it, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being respectful. But just because you're mad because I don't think it's the greatest movie of all time, well, that's my opinion. Don't send me death threats. Again, I'm going to block people from doing that. If you're going to do that, goodbye. But this ain't a rant. I don't hate this movie. It's just meh. It's okay. But it does have great performances by the supporting cast. Christian Bale, I just think does an alright job. I think the billionaire playboy persona Bruce Wayne, he does good, and they should have kept it that way. But overall, I just think it's a very overrated movie, in my opinion. Very overrated film. And that I think should have been done better. If you throw realism out the window, make it more comic book, go back to being dark and mysterious, I'm not saying be Tim Burton's Batman film. I'm not trying to say that. No. You can't be that. But if we didn't have Tim Burton's Batman 89, we probably wouldn't have had this. If Batman and Robin didn't flop, it didn't turn out like they did probably this. But there are Batman fans that highly love this, and that's fine. But Dark Knight fanboys, as I have a fan with, the ones that make death threats, I have an issue with. Again, movies are just fantasy. They're escapism. They're fantasy. That's what movies are. So, life's too short for me to get into an argument about people about these movies. They're just movies. You can love what you love. Everybody has their own taste in movies. I do. You as well. Everybody has different opinion. It's all subjective. Just because I feel this way about this movie does not mean you have to feel that way, okay? But anyway, Batman Begins, my rating for Batman Begins, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm going to give it kind of a more thumbs like this, but it's an okay film in my opinion. Batman Begins is alright. Okay. But let me know in the comments below, guys. What is your opinion on Batman Begins? Do you love it? Do you hate it? If you hate the film, please say it. Come on my channel. When you go to my channel, you can comment. You can tell me how you feel about a movie. You can say you can tell me you hate it. You think it's the worst movie ever. You can call it a piece of shit. You can call it whatever you want. If you hate this movie, you can say it. Say how you feel. I love people that express their opinions on my channel. Just don't be rude toward me. If you love this movie and you think it's a masterpiece, that's your opinion. That's awesome. Good for you. I'm proud of you. That's your opinion. Good for you. But be respectful. But don't be afraid to share your opinion, guys. I don't allow trolls to talk to me on here anyway. There's no trolls allowed on here. So, but anyway, Batman Begins, 3 out of 5 stars is my rating for it, and a kind of a They're okay films, but it's an okay film. Alright, next Batman film. I might be doing 2 reviews next Saturday. But next, of course, will be the 2008 sequel will be next. Next will be The Dark Knight. So stay tuned for that this Saturday, a review for The Dark Knight. And probably next Saturday I'm thinking, as also, maybe another Batman film, maybe The Dark Knight Rises as well. So, yeah, the last film in the Nolan trilogy. But, guys, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of Batman Begins? What do you think of this movie? And look forward to my review of The Dark Knight. So tell me what you think about Batman Begins. Let me know what you like about it in the comments below. What do you think of it in your opinion? And look forward to my review of The Dark Knight, and hopefully The Dark Knight Rises. So, but anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye.